Okay, in my last video where I showed that music clip of, with the bears in it, that sign that said Heim for Bären, home for bears. That's all AI. That's all computer driven. But I'm thinking that's probably an actual place. It probably is a place down in Cusco. I don't get why they did that in German and didn't do it in Spanish because that's what they speak down in that part of South America is all Spanish. But they may, if that is a real place, they may make another one in Spanish. But because it's still kind of a cool video. But on my video, when I did that clip initially, my video it said copyright, so I knew they was talking about making AI music copywritten, but I didn't think I'd done it yet. But I'm not monetized, so it doesn't make that big a difference. But I find that kind of interesting. I've got one video while YouTube told me it was actually banned in two countries. That video was where I was playing Maria Rhymes' video. Ich bin so naive. I am so naive. They said I could protest it, but I said I doubt that very many people are going to be, and it's got to be in two different German-speaking countries, and I doubt very many people in German-speaking countries watch my videos anyway, so not that big a deal. But the second thing I want to comment on here is now I've told this story 3 or 4 times here on YouTube, but let me set the scene. Now I was at the New Age bookshop. There used to be a handful of these. There's 1 or 2 left around, but Amazon has pretty much put out of business most of the small bookstores. But this was a seminar conference. What do you want to call it? But it was given by a Native American on the power centers of the Four Corners area of these civilizations that had lived there maybe 600-800 years ago and had somehow disappeared. And his thinking it was like mine that maybe they had a couple of years of drought, and they moved on to greener pastures, as they would say. They probably integrated with some of the other civilizations that were around here. Teamed up with them. Where they were a little bit more productive farming ground and stuff. I'm kind of thinking that's what happened. They didn't just flat out disappear. They weren't abducted by aliens, by like a few people think, but. There's a number of these, and their ruins are still around there. And when I was a kid, I visited one. It was up on a cliff somewhere. I think it's up in Colorado. It's actually pretty cool to visit there, and I'd like to go back there sometime and visit some of these ruins. There's probably a handful of YouTube videos. In fact, I'm sure there are YouTube videos on some of these places. But now, this lady, fairly average-looking lady, I saw her once after this, but I haven't seen her since that. But now, she forced me to pay attention to her. She was forcing me to just watch her and pay attention to her. And I have no idea what her, who she was, what her agenda was. And at the end of this talk, this lecture, whatever you want to call it, I found myself following her out of the, that conference room, through the main part of the building. Now the store had been closed, the lights were off, but I started thinking. Following this lady out into the parking lot is probably not the best of ideas because I have no idea what she's got in mind. Now I don't know if she was, if she was recruiting for a cult, if she was going to rob me. I'm a poor boy, so she's not going to get more than a few bucks out of me. But she had no way of knowing that, or was she going to kidnap me again? She's not going to get much money out of me, or maybe she was my guardian angel. Distracting me from another situation that she knew I'd get into if she didn't do that. But anyway, I said I just wandered around the bookstore for 10, 15 minutes. Let her run up the parking lot. Then I went outside and she was gone. So to this day, I have no idea what her agenda was. And if I'm just curious if anybody else out there has run into somebody like that has distracted them in that manner. Maybe somebody did get recruited into a cult and has later gotten out of it because the cults will recruit from from the New Agers because they are of the same mindset, kind of. Okay, the third thing I want to comment on is a Spindeck message. Now this was transmitted by Morse code, by CW radio, from a commercial aircraft back in the 50s. It ended up crashing in the Andes Mountains back in the 50s. But it was going from I think from Argentina to Chile, but it was crossing the Andes, and the radio operator had transmitted this by Morse code twice. And to this day, they have no idea what SPINDAC meant. It doesn't match any civilian or military code. As far as they know, it doesn't mean anything. But this guy had transmitted it twice. So when the plane hit the top of the mountain, it ended up killing everybody. For a long time, they didn't know what happened to it. But sometime back in the 90s, they found pieces of it that the snowpack had eventually brought down. Brought down from the mountain. They had, I guess they'd found some of the engines and had matched the serial numbers from the engines to this flight. I'm thinking it was something like that. But to this day, they have no idea the SPINDAC message. The reason I'm repeating this, now I had posted this on a message for Hoover of the pilot debrief. But anyway, there was about 5 or 6 aviation-related mysteries. But I was just watching it a few minutes ago. One of my old videos. It's maybe about 6 months, a year ago, and the video cut off before it got to that. Got to the SPINDAC message. So I didn't know if it was still on there, if something had happened in my video or whatever. But figured I'd repeat the SPINDAC because you can find it here on YouTube. You can find a better explanation of it than what I present here. But I found it's a handful of these mysteries that probably never will get solved. We probably never will know the answer to these. Unlike Wrong Way Corrigan. Now, Wrong Way Corrigan ended up in Ireland, and so I must have went the wrong way. But we all know that you don't make a trip like that without knowing exactly what you're doing. You don't fly. I mean, even if you took a well-equipped aircraft, you're gonna have to know where you're going. You don't do that. He knew what he was doing. The guy is no dummy. Okay, love you. Bye-bye.